Paraguay is one of the countries that adopt a so-called territorial taxation system, meaning that, theoretically, income produced outside of national territory is not taxed at all. I say theoretically because one must be very careful with the definition of income produced abroad. And as you probably will discover in this video, that definition is not exactly what it seems. From our experience, we can say that most people do not clearly understand how the exclusion of taxation of income produced abroad works until they've actually spoken either with us or any other expert of accounting and tax laws here in Paraguay. So in this video, we will try to clarify this for both digital nomads who just want to take advantage of Paraguay's tax regime, and for all the other people who have actually taken the step or are taking the step to become residents of the country and maybe relocate here. So the first part of this video will be dedicated to understanding what income is considered to be produced in Paraguay and what is instead deemed to be produced abroad. Then we will discuss what taxes apply both to income produced in Paraguay and abroad, paying particular attention to the digital services world where most digital nomads operate. And finally, I will explain the solution that both our clients and thousands of other experts, nomads, etc. are utilizing here in Paraguay to make sure that they can optimize their tax profiles. And to begin with, we need to clarify exactly what is meant by income produced abroad. So to find the answer, we need to look at the important tax reform of 2019, which has led to the creation of Law 6380. This is the reform on the modernization and the simplification of the national tax system, and has essentially become the basis of all Paraguayan tax law regulations. Another important source that I suggest to take a look at is the General Resolution 73 of 2020, which is made specifically to clarify the situation for digital services. Starting with General Law 6380, Article 6 clarifies what income is considered to be of national source and what is of foreign source. And the law states that all income related to services, rights, and goods located in the country or used in Paraguay is considered to be income produced in Paraguay. Additionally, some borderline cases are also presented to be taken into account. In particular, it is important to remember that, number one, services provided by an individual or legal entity in the country, even to a foreign company, a foreign client, are considered Paraguayan-sourced income. Number two, income from investments made by an individual or legal entity that's resident in Paraguay is considered Paraguayan-sourced income. Additionally, theoretically, all personal income that's produced abroad but has paid no taxes in the country of origin is also considered to be income produced in Paraguay. So, be aware of this, and now let's move to what the taxes are here. So, the first one is the IVA, the VAT, which applies to the sales of both services and products and has a general tax rate of 10%. Then we have the IRE, the income tax on individuals and companies, again with a tax rate of 10%. Then we have the capital gains tax, which is 8%. And finally, we have property taxes, generally 1–2%, but they're not considered in this video because I want to speak directly to digital nomads and those who are not currently aiming to buy a property in Paraguay. We'll have separated resources for that. So let's focus on VAT and income taxes, which are the two most important taxes for those who work online. VAT is not much of a concern because General Resolution 73 of 2020, that I mentioned earlier, establishes that VAT is only applicable to digital services that are used or enjoyed in Paraguay. This means that if your clients are not in Paraguay, you do not need to include VAT on your invoices. The issue of income taxes is more complex, and on this, the law is not very clear. So the first thing to know is that if you operate a business based in Paraguay, whether a personal business or a separate entity that's based as a company, you are still subject to income taxes even if your clients are abroad, or even if the digital services are not used in Paraguay. So in this case, you will have two options about tax regimes, and you will have to decide with either the normal tax regime, which involves paying 10% on the net profit. So you take all the revenue, you subtract all the costs supported by, of course, invoices and receipts, and then you pay 10% on the difference between these two amounts. And the second tax regime, which I consider much more effective, much more efficient for digital workers, involves paying 3% tax on the revenue instead of the net profit. So On the total of all the invoices sent to your clients, you're paying 3% and that's it. And this tax regime is available for all activities that do not exceed 2 billion guarani in turnover. So at the current exchange rate, this is about $265,000 per year. It's called IRE Simple. This solution is already very convenient because either in one case or the other, we are talking a minimal tax burden, which still allows you to demonstrate to your country of origin that you are paying taxes in Paraguay, and therefore you'll avoid a lot of issues with moving your tax residency. But say, would it be possible to pay 0 instead of this 3% on revenue or 10% on net profit? Well, yes, but you need to operate on the gray area of the regulation, still within the regulation, but on the borderline. The simplest way is to combine personal tax residency in Paraguay with an LLC in the United States, for example, in Delaware or Wyoming. This is an extremely effective solution and a common thing among the many digital nomads here in Paraguay, especially since you do not need to physically go to the USA to open an LLC or a bank account. On average, it costs $600 to open one, and you can do everything remotely in 2 to 3 days, then wait 1 to 2 months for the tax ID. LLCs in the United States are pass-through entities, so they are not taxed themselves, but the tax burden passes to the owner of the business. So if the income generated by the business is not tied to the United States, because the person who runs the business is not a US person, they do not have any employees in the USA, and they do not have stocks or assets in the USA, this trick works perfectly and no federal taxes are due. It does not matter if the clients are in the USA or abroad. What matters is where the work was done and whether the owner is a US person or not. By choosing a convenient state like Delaware or Wyoming, where also no state taxes apply on business profits, then the whole setup in the United States is completely tax-free. And at the same time, Paraguay cannot say that this is income produced within the country. Why? Because Paraguay considers the LLC in the United States as a company and not just as a pass-through entity, since in our local tax system, there is not the idea of a LLC that cannot be a company. So basically, your company is not based in Paraguay, so it is not subject to local taxes in any way, and then you can move the money out of the LLC using an administrative tool that's called the owner's draw instead of using dividends or salary, which is basically the possibility for the owner of the company to use the LLC's money for whatever they want. You can pay both personal and business expenses from your LLC. You can withdraw and do whatever you like, but theoretically, as far as Paraguay is concerned, you're using the money of an American company that is not based in the country. And another great benefit that you get if you open an LLC in the US is, of course, that you're banking in the US. So moving money in and out of your account, in and out of your LLC, accepting Stripe payments, PayPal payments, investing in crypto, investing in stocks or whatever, is gonna be a very, very easy task for you compared to if you were banking in Paraguay. So combining an LLC in the United States with tax residency in Paraguay has this great advantage of both having very solid taxation, virtually zero, and on the other hand, very solid banking. Now, I gotta say that especially as of late, I became more a fan of Nevis LLCs than Wyoming or Delaware LLCs, just because, well, first of all, Nevis LLCs are way more private. Yeah, they are more costly and you have to pay an annual fee to keep it running, but on the other hand, what you're getting is way more privacy, still very solid banking. You can bank offshore, you can very easily set up an account in Bahamas or stuff like that. And so, in my opinion, since the United States are not a country that was intended to be like a tax haven or anything of that sort, and since they are a country that loves to control everything, especially money flows, inflows and outflows, I wouldn't feel confident in suggesting a client to keep the money there, even though it's something that thousands and thousands and thousands of nomads are doing, and this is just my personal opinion. And when it comes to something that's not Paraguay, take my personal opinion with a grain of salt. In any case, be it Wyoming, Delaware, or Nevis, I always advise paying low taxes rather than zero, because paying zero, whether in Paraguay or in any other country of the world, can cause difficulty in canceling your tax residency in your country of origin. And even after canceling it, you may still encounter all sorts of problems and roadblocks. Therefore, I always present all the possibilities to our clients, inform them, and then each person can choose what they prefer. be cautious, set up their business in Paraguay and pay little tax, or opt for the zero tax regime with an LLC in the United States combined with personal residency here, or of course an LLC in Nevis other than the United States. Now, whether you choose one thing or the other, I hope this video has helped you understand more about Paraguay's territorial taxation system, and remember that if you have any doubts, you can always feel free to contact us as paraguaypathways.com/contacts, link in the description. We also respond on weekends, usually just within a few hours, and we can help you both obtaining residency in Paraguay and understanding how can these optimize your tax position in the country. From Asuncion for today is everything. See you in Paraguay.